It wasn't pretty, but the Broncos got a hard-fought victory over the Vikings, their fourth in a row to improve to 5-5 on the year. And we're breaking it all down next on the Broncos Postgame Show. Hello, and thank you for joining us here in studio. I am Phil Milani alongside Nick Ferguson. Man, that was a tough game, Nick. The Vikings defense, so physical. Didn't give up any yards on the ground, but somehow the Broncos broke through there on that last drive in the fourth quarter.
It wasn't pretty, but there's a win being celebrated in the Mile High City. Yeah, I mean, Phil, going into this game, we knew it was going to be difficult against the Minnesota Vikings and that Brian Flores defense. The run game wasn't able to gain the traction that it has in previous weeks. But the only thing that matters, when the Broncos made the plays when they needed to make them, and now that's 4 games in a row. When was the last time we were able to say that?
Weeks 1 through 4, 2016.
That's been a long time ago.
It's been a while.
Yes.
They're starting to stack up, and it's good to see for this Broncos team. The defense was awesome again tonight, too. So we'll break it all down. But first, let's get to some highlights here. Out to Empower Field at Mile High, playing under the lights. And the Broncos picked up where they left off. The opening drive of the game, Joshua Dobbs. What a story he was. But he coughs it up here. Jaquan McMillan there. It leads to a field goal. That was a theme tonight, Nick. In the fourth, it's McMillan again after Josie Jewell affects the throw. But the offense just wasn't quite connecting early in this one. Early and often, I should say. Russell Wilson, Higgs in there, tough on the blitz, but Jerry Jeudy can't quite hold on. The game came down to this drive. 4th down, Sutton, oh, what a catch. Being held there one-handed, and the Broncos convert a couple plays later. It's Samad JP, right? He came alive on this drive, made a bunch of plays, and it all set up this. A 15-yard jump ball to Cortland Sutton. Of course he came down with it. He used to play basketball. It's his 8th of the season. The 2-point try was no good, so it was 21-20. Dobbs trying to make something happen. The pastronaut hoping for some magic, but the Broncos pass rush finally made an impact there. Intentional grounding, and the Broncos go on to win their 4th straight game. Let's go out to Empower Field at Mile High and check in with Sidney Jones and Aric DiLalla.
Thanks, Phil. Aric, this Broncos team continues to keep us on our toes. These games keep coming down to the final drive here.
Yeah, they're exciting. They're fun,
exciting.
And when you're winning football games, that's all that matters. I think the resilience this team showed tonight was really impressive. We saw this team struggle for a little bit of the game, but the defense kept them in it. And then you almost felt, Sid, when the Broncos were able to hold the Vikings to a field goal, that they had a little bit of mile-high magic left. They were able to go down the field and score. That touchdown pass to Cortland Sutton was spectacular and an even better catch. This team just keeps making plays, and sometimes it feels like when you're on a roll, that's all you can do is make plays, find ways to win football games, and even when the Broncos weren't at their best, they were able to do that.
Yeah, 4th straight win for this Broncos team. Aric, you mentioned the defense, so let's start there. I mean, 3 takeaways, 12 in the past 3 games. They had a huge stop on the Vikings' last drive. Just how much have they meant to this team in the past couple weeks here?
Yeah, it's you keep thinking, oh, it can't possibly keep going. They can't keep taking the ball away at this rate, and they've been able to do it. 3 more takeaways on this evening, and really the reason that they won the game. It kept the Broncos in this football game. They weren't perfect, obviously. Need to be a little bit better against the run, certainly, but made big plays. And then I thought that final drive, I mean, you're talking about a 1-point game. There's a lot of time left, 3 timeouts. That's not an easy situation to defend, and really if the Vikings get 35, 40 yards, you're talking about being close to field goal range. That's a tough position to put themselves in. They rushed Josh Dobbs as well as they had all night, made him uncomfortable, and sealed this win.
Yeah, Aric, I know a lot of the guys on offense, they've talked about different things that they want to clean up and fix as the weeks go on here, but, I mean, they stepped up big when they needed it most tonight, so what have you seen from that unit? Yeah,
there's an element of clutch right now with this unit, and it starts with Russell Wilson, leads the NFL in game-winning drives this season. Right. The Broncos have come from behind again and again. It wasn't perfect in the red zone, right? 0-4 down there to start the game. Only finally score a touchdown there on that final possession. And, there were times where you weren't able to move the ball maybe as well as you wanted to. But, again, in the big moment, they came up with their best football, able to move the ball down the field.
Phil, we'll talk to some of the players here in a couple minutes, but until then, we'll send it back to you.
Thank you very much, guys. We're back here in studio. Phil Milani alongside Nick Ferguson. Nick, that was an exciting finish, but the beginning of the game, the first really 3 quarters and a half, it was tough sledding for the Broncos offense.
Yeah, it was. And the Broncos didn't start fast as though Sean Payton wanted the group to come out and start. And it was tough sledding because the Broncos couldn't get any rhythm with the running game, and the passing game still couldn't find traction at all. So he said, well, how are the Broncos going to move the ball down the field against one of the tougher defensive units in the NFL? And it's stay the course. And that's exactly what they did. And I know everyone wants these kind of gaudy numbers from Russell and on the ground game, but you have to show that you can win tough games like this, because once again, we're getting into the back half of the season where you're going to play much better defensive units, and you have to still show that you can stay consistent. And we know earlier in the season, Sean Payton said it himself, he gave up on some plays, but luckily the Broncos made the plays that they need to. Now they can celebrate.
Yeah, and maybe like in years past when the defense is making all those plays out there, but the offense, a couple of 3 and outs, maybe there's some frustration, something like that. You didn't really see any of that tonight, Nick.
No, we didn't see any of that. And here's the great part about it. The first part of the season, we saw a lot of, let's say, division, because we saw the offense playing well, and then the defense didn't play well. And then when the defense came to play, the offense didn't do their part. This is one of those games where both sides of the ball struggle early, but they stayed the course, and that's the most important thing. And this team, they used to find ways to lose games. Now they're finding ways to win games, and now they're 500.
Yeah, that last drive, you were like, okay, what's going to happen here? It was 4th down early, and they just they were able to make the plays when it mattered most. Here's what the Broncos head coach had to say at the podium after the game.
A crazy game in a lot of ways. Man, it was good for us to come out of there with a win. This is one of those games, if you just looked at the stat line, you would see Minnesota did a number of things better than us. And we really struggled offensively, I thought, on 3rd down. But the one thing we did, we took the ball away 3 times, and we didn't turn it over. So that kind of becomes a little bit of the trump card in a game like this. Give credit to those guys, though. They had a good plan coming in, and we were fortunate to win. I'm proud of our fight.
So that's Sean Payton at the podium after the game. The Broncos get a 21-20 victory over the Vikings. Let's talk about that final drive there for the Broncos offense. It was 4th down and short early in that drive. Sutton makes a play. And then finally, it seemed like something started clicking. Nick, tell me what you saw. Samaje Perine on the outside. They were dumping the ball off to him, and he was getting huge chunks down the field.
Yeah, Samaje Perine, man. Talking about being Johnny on the spot. He was that guy. And you saw a lot of the coverages that, Brian Flores was trying to deploy. He would have 5 guys up, 7 guys up, 4 guys up, and he would drop them back. And he was all doing that to try to confuse Russell. But Russell said, I have a game plan. I have an outlet. His name is Samaje Perine. And for a moment there, we saw Javonte come in the game, but Javonte exited stage left because Samaje was that guy. When the defense started to drop out and back off field, Samaje was right there. And then I can tell you this, being a former defensive guy, when you get a guy that size with those big tree trunk type thighs coming at you, guys don't want to tackle.
You don't want to tackle.
You start making business decisions, and we saw a lot of that from the Minnesota Vikings, and Samaje Perine took advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the Vikings were crashing into the center. There really just wasn't much running lanes. There wasn't that much stuff up the middle. But once they got outside, they were all able to make some plays happen.
Yeah, and once again, when you start to hit your head against a rock, which the Broncos' run game was doing, then Joe Lombardi and Sean Payton said, well, let's do something a little different. We know they're going to pack, the A gaps and the B gaps, so let's try to get our guys out on the edges, and they did it. And Samaje Perine, that was one of the reasons the Broncos picked him up, not just because he was a bruising back, but the fact that he can catch the ball out of the backfield and he can use his size and lure his pads to get those extra yards. And he was kind of the catalyst to setting up that game-winning touchdown.
And then, of course, Courtland Sutton capped it off with a huge touchdown there in the end zone. Jumped up there, and that huge body, he's able to come down with the ball. Here's what Russell Wilson had to say after the game.
What really matters about this game, and I think winning this game on Sunday Night Football and everything else just shows who we can be and who we are. And you got to be a great team. You got to be able to win the games you should win, but you also got to be able to win the games that have been tough throughout the whole day, and the games that it looks dark for a little bit, you just come through it. And I think that's what's really key. So I think the most important thing for us, we got to stay humble and we got to stay hungry. There's a lot more to do, and we're going to get better. We're on the rise, but then at the end of the day, we haven't done anything yet.
Now let's talk about the defense a little bit, Nick. Coming into this one, you're like, how are they going to create the same amount of turnovers? 9 in 2 weeks, and then now another 3 here tonight. You know that the Vikings were like, hey, protect the football. These guys are coming after it. They still were able to take the ball away.
Yeah, turnovers are like sacks, and they come in bunches. And that starts with having a certain level of confidence that you can create those turnovers. And Jaquan McMillan, at week in and week out, he continues to make play after play. That's 2 times in a row, back-to-back weeks, he started a game off with the turnover.
Yeah.
He created a fumble, then he got his hands on an interception. This defense is now starting to come alive, and they're coming alive at the right time. And health has a lot to do with that, but a lot of credit goes to those guys now. Only 2 sacks in the game, but you have to still be able to get pressure. And the question is, which one you want more, sacks or pressure? I want the pressure because you're going to force that quarterback to get the ball out of his hands and it forced Josh Dobbs to make some errors late.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs, tough to bring down. That guy was making plays out there. He was playing awesome. Fun to see that guy really have his career rejuvenated like this. But, he was a tough guy to bring down. But like you mentioned, the Broncos were around him a lot, Nick, and it led to some of those turnovers. And, that last drive, they finally were able to make him throw the ball away, and it was intentional grounding.
Yeah, and once again, this is why, as a team, whether offense or defense, you just can't really give up. Things are not always going to go the way that the coach is designed it, that you have practiced. But if you have that ability to stick to it and pin your ears back and try to make those particular plays, and there's a word that we use a lot, especially in the ranks of coaching, you want your players to strain. And basically what that means is that if you get blocked, keep pushing through. If you are covering a guy, he makes a double move, continue to try to stay in phase and stay in his hip pocket. And that's what the Broncos did as of late. And it didn't look great because the Broncos gave up some yards on the ground. It is something that, obviously you can't do as of late. They did that last week against James Cook. But this week they did the same thing, but they continued to push through. Earlier in the season, we would have seen the defense and the team as a whole start to feel sorry for themselves. This is not the same team.
Yeah, 72 yards rushing from the Vikings in that first quarter. But then after that, they started to tighten it up a little bit there, and they did enough. And the turnovers were amazing once again. Let's go inside a very happy Broncos locker room. Check in with Sydney Jones.
Thanks, Phil. We're inside the locker room here with wide receiver Cortland Sutton. Cortland, 4 straight wins for this Broncos team, the first time since 2016. What does this mean? You guys feel like you're really feeling the momentum?
Yeah, I think we're all feeling the momentum. We're all having that, enjoying this run, enjoying the excitement and fun that comes with the winning. Hear people say that the fun is in the winning, and it definitely is. And to be able to see the success, and it's a lot of fun. But I think the biggest thing is watching it be a team effort. It's literally every aspect of our team is contributing to these wins. Defense is going out there getting turnovers and getting big stops. Special teams, Marv has been amazing, with his returns and everybody that's on all of those units, blocking it up for him. And I think they're number one kickoff return team and number one punt return team, and it's a group effort, and they're out there playing their butts off. And then offensively, week by week we continue to find things that work for us. And I think about like golf. Nobody's really gonna say anything when they look at the record at the end of the game, and they're gonna say, hey, they got to win, and it is what it is. Go watch the film, get better from it, keep it moving. But in that moment, we got the win.
Going off of that, Court, I know there's some things on offense that you guys want to clean up, but you guys stepped up big when you needed it most. Your touchdown there. What does that say about this team?
I think it just speaks to the resiliency. I think it speaks to the character. I think it speaks to the confidence that everyone has in each other. There was no flinch. There was no flinch and no waver, on the sideline from anybody, defensively, offensively, the coaches, everyone. No one flinched. No one had, any doubt that we were going to be able to go out there and have success. And I think that's what we're able to do. And, it's just really fun to be able to know that everyone that's on that sideline has confidence and belief and faith that, we're going to be able to go out there and have success. And it's a lot of fun to be able to be a part of that.
Yeah, Cortland, going off that last one here for you, what do you think the next step is for this offense?
Yeah, I think, it's ultimately just being consistent. Some weeks we go out there and we're able to put up, multiple touchdowns. And then, you have a day like this where, thank goodness for Will, going out there doing what he did and making a lot of kicks for us and, keeping us in the game. We weren't able to get into the box until the very end of the game, but Will gave us a chance. And, that speaks to, what I've been saying this whole time. It's a team effort. It's a group effort. And everybody's putting their hand in to make sure that we're, having success.
Court, congrats on the win. Thanks for your time.
Of course, thank you.
Phil, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you very much, Sydney. The Broncos now, Nick, 5-5. They're right in the mix. After starting 1-5, you never would have thought this was going to be a possibility.
No one really thought this was going to be a possibility. And for the most part, there are a lot of local and national journalists who had the Broncos, trading players and trying to position themselves for a top quarterback pick in 2024 draft. But, things have changed. This is a team that now believes in themselves. They've won a couple of tight games. They have another tough game coming up with the Cleveland Browns, but a win like this would definitely kind of help build the team's confidence.
Yeah, the Browns coming in. Myles Garrett leads the league in sacks. That's one of the tougher defenses. But I think for this Broncos team, they're really showing week after week here. They're tough. They've been hardened a little bit here, and they're resilient, and winning, it's contagious, and you keep stacking them up week after week after week. You start to say, hey, I like winning a little bit here. Let's keep this thing going, and the Broncos have been doing it so far.
Yeah, show me someone who loves to lose, and I'll show you a loser. But this team is now starting to, stack those bricks. Yeah. And there's a certain level of confidence that they have because when you get to this back part of the season, every game is going to be tough. Every game, when you're trying to push to get into the playoffs, is going to be tough. But it's those teams that can persevere through that adversity that usually emerges victorious. And this team is now 5-5, and that little chart that they put up on the TV as far as in the hunt, the Broncos are definitely in the hunt. And they're slowly turning into one of those teams that no one wants to play. So let's see how the couple of weeks, moving forward kind of shape up.
Yeah, they're number 2 in the AFC West now. So they went from the bottom all the way to number 2 and see if they could keep this thing rolling. 5-5 on the year. And Empower Field was rocking tonight, huh, Nick?
Yeah, it was. Listen, I played 5 of my 10 years here, and I've never seen that stadium that way. The fan base is now starting to believe. For those 2,000 fans that didn't show up today, hey, man, joke's on you. This team is now for real. There's a certain level of confidence that they have. Now they're going to need your support to keep this momentum moving forward.
You got that bracelet on? It was they were lining it up.
Hey, you 2,000 people, you missed out on this bracelet.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome to see, and it's fun in this city when the Broncos are rolling like this. They beat the Minnesota Vikings 21-20 here tonight. All right, that's going to do it for us. For Nick Ferguson, I am Phil Milani. This has been the Broncos Postgame Show.